Welcome to another edition of We Don't Know What We're Doing, but we're doing it anyway. My sister-in-law asked me to make her a Mardi Gras king cake. So the first step is to make the bread. It's called a king's cake, but it's actually a bread. And it starts out with 3 1/4 cups, no, wrong part, 3/4 of a cup of milk. There we go. So we're back. So we read the instructions and we're gonna try this again before we make any mistakes. So this recipe actually calls for instant yeast, which is different than most of the stuff you get in the packages. This is my instant yeast. I've already got a package open, so we're not gonna open this. But it starts first with flour, 3 1/4 cups of flour. Then it says to add 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. Now see, this is why you need to use your instant yeast, because you're not mixing it in with your water. Usually when you have yeast, you're going to have hot water in your measuring cup, and you'll put your yeast and your sugar in here so that it can start working. But with instant yeast, you can put it straight in with your dry ingredients. Okay. And then a 1/3 cup of sugar. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And there's our dry ingredients. Okay, so gone through the instructions again, looked at a few more things. Next thing it says to do is add 3/4 cup of milk. And there it is, mixing, kneading. Okay, once that's all mixed up, then the next thing you add is your butter. See, and now it's coming together into a nice ball. That's exactly what we want it to look like. Okay, now we're going to turn this out onto a lightly floured surface. We're just going to knead it till it comes together a little bit better. It has some nice elasticity to it. I have a friend who is an expert bread maker, and she says that you always knead with the heels of your hands. Okay, now that my dough is all kneaded, it's in a nice ball, it has a nice texture to it. I'm going to form it into a ball. Ha! There's the light. I'm going to form it into a ball, and we're going to put it into my lightly greased bowl, and we're going to cover it up with a towel and let it rise in a warm place for an hour. Okay, to make the filling now, we are going to measure out 2/3 cups of raisins, golden raisins specifically. And then it is, double check, 3 tablespoons of whiskey, bourbon, whatever. Rum would be good too. And we need the juice of 1/2 of a lemon. Okay, so the second step to making the filling is to mix together the almond paste. So it's a pound of almond paste. This is the only kind that I could find, you can't see that, in the store. So I got 2 boxes. I've already put in 1 box. There's our second box. On the way. It says a 1/4 cup of sugar. A 1/4 cup of sugar. 1 egg white. Now, there are very many schools of thought on how to separate an egg. This is my all-time favorite. I very carefully open the egg and let the egg white fall into the bowl that I want it to, and just dump the egg yolk into my hand, letting the egg white fall in. Then I save the egg yolk because in 9 times out of 10 in the recipe, you're going to need that egg yolk as well, not just the egg white. 2 tablespoons of milk. Always when you're baking, whole milk is better. You want that fat in there. But I don't happen to have whole milk, so it is what it is. And I know there's butter. 3 tablespoons of butter. 1, 2, 3. Yep, I'm one for really strict measurements. Nah. Okay, and we're just gonna go ahead and mix this all together with my hands. Just get in there and get dirty. Okay. Here we are, just breaking up the lumps, making it into a nice smooth paste. Some of that almond paste is a little bit lumpy, and we're just gonna keep kneading this and working this with our fingers, working out the lumps until it's all nice and smooth. Don't try and do this with a spoon, you'll never succeed. Okay, so we've been letting our raisins soak. I also decided to add some dates to it, so our dates and raisins have been soaking in the bourbon, and now we're going to blend it all up. And now that it's all blended, we have a lovely paste that we can stick on our dough. So now it's time to roll out our dough. It's all risen, and we'll show you in a second. So here's our dough. It's not quite doubled in size, but it just said to raise for an hour, and that's been an hour. So we're gonna roll it out and see how it looks. Okay, so we have a lightly floured work surface. I'm gonna pull this out. Oh, that's a nice dough. And we're going to pull it into a rough rectangle shape to begin with. So it says we want to roll it so that it's roughly 13 by 16. That's pretty close. I'm not going to measure it, but it's awfully close. Okay, next it says to combine my raisins with my almond paste. Okay. Transferred it to our plate. I'm going to stretch it just a little bit. Not plate, pan. Make it a little longer. And I'm going to tuck that end inside this end and pinch it and seal it. Okay. Now we're going to let it rise for another hour, and then we will stick it in the oven and bake it. Okay, the other step is we need to slice it. So we're just going to use scissors. We're just going to go clip, clip. This will allow it to have a really pretty shape once it's raised. Welcome back to We Don't Know What We're Doing, but we're doing it anyway. We have now let our bread rise. It's been about 3 hours, 4 hours. We put it in the refrigerator because we had to go for a few hours. So we put it in the refrigerator so it wouldn't rise so fast. Okay, now we're going to make, our oven is set to 350. we will put this in the oven for about 20 minutes. Okay, our bread has been baking. It turns out it baked for about 45 minutes. And let's see how it turned out. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Better grab my hot pads. Look at that. See the golden crust? That's what that egg wash did to it, made it really pretty. Okay, we're back. We've let it cool, and now we're going to make our icing. This is a very simple icing. It's about a generous cup of powdered sugar, a dash of salt. Always a dash of salt in your icing. Your mouth, whether you know it or not, really wants to taste those conflicting flavors. About a tablespoon of Caro syrup. This is going to give your icing just a little bit of, I don't know what I want to use. Body, consistency, strength. It won't be so runny. And because we've got almond flavor, almond paste in there, I'm putting just a little bit of almond extract in here. A little bit of almond goes a long way. This is going to be about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I can always add more if I decide I need it, but remember our number one rule, or one of our number one rules, less is more. You can always put more in if you decide it needs it, but you can't take it out. Okay, we've got it all mixed up. I'll show you this nice consistency. It's exactly what we want. Now I'm going to turn here to my lovely assistant. Actually, I'll show you a trick. When you don't have a lovely assistant, you take a glass and set your pastry bag over it like this, and your glass will hold your pastry bag for you, so that you can have two hands to dump your icing in. Look how cool that is. Very cool. Okay, now we're going to take you over and show you how to ice this. Okay, so we've got our bag filled. We've got it twisted so that the icing isn't going to come out the back. And we're just going to do zigzags. We're going to take some yellow sprinkles. I made these green ones and yellow ones by just adding a little bit of food coloring to some sugar. And there you have your beautiful Mardi Gras King's Cake. And all that's left is to cut into it and see how delicious it tastes. We didn't know what we were doing, but we did it anyway, and I think it was a pretty good success. I hope you try it and you'll find out it's a good success too. Thanks. See you next time.